I'll have a blue Christmas.
Well, we can't continue with that for obvious copyright reasons, but what we can do is create an epic blue winter Christmas scene using primarily the 5 blues that we're accustomed to using in oil painting. It'll be lonely without you, so let's take a look. Before we get into the painting, here are the 5 blues that I'm referring to. The first one is our favorite, ultramarine blue, followed by cobalt blue, cerulean blue, phthalo blue, and then finally Prussian blue. So the setup today is a 12 by 12 cradled wooden panel, which I've taken the liberty to go ahead and tone out with a light wash of burnt sienna. Now obviously you don't have to tone your canvas, but I find it helps with judging the colors correctly as we're working on the piece. The goal of this piece is to use those 5 colors, but I'd have to be kidding myself to believe that I wasn't going to mix in some other colors into the scene. I want to present and I want to create the most realistic scene I have, and as this is not a grisaille or a monochromatic scene, we'll be adding more colors as we go along. I'll try to interject and bring you into the mix as far as what I'm adding to when I do. With the sky having very little to it outside of maybe some finishing clouds that we'll get to in a later episode, we chose to use a titanium white, ultramarine blue, and then as we progress to the top of the scene, we're going to throw in some cobalt teal as well as some dioxide purple and cobalt blue. For the distance mountains, there is no additional colors needed. We're going to take those same sky colors, we're going to deepen the value just a little bit to push them back to our scene, but not as far back as the sky. Our next to last color we're going to interject into our mixes is a bit of a phthalo green. This is going to present that second level of mountains and even the shoreline across the lake as being a little bit more tree-like. We'll continue to use this color as we bring it closer to the foreground, just deepening our value and presenting more color as the closer we get to the actual front. Drawing it in a little bit closer here so you can see that these colors, even though they appear to be darker and are darker value, they still retain that bluish color, bluish green. This is going to present that depth that we're looking for in our painting. I'm going to go ahead and drag some of this color into the water here. And this is a good time to stop to tell you a little tip that I have with regards to painting realistic water is anytime you're painting a reflection, the reflection is always going to look darker than its corresponding counterpart on the land. So in the case of these trees here, I'll take the same color, darken the value, and you may not be able to see it right now. However, the end painting will always result. So a good tip for anyone starting out painting water, if you want to make it realistic, darken those reflections to corresponding land values. Go ahead and slow it down one more time because you're probably asking yourself, well, Lance, you've only used 2 out of your 5 blues. Where are the other 3 coming in? Well, here's the spot where we're going to throw in our 3rd blue, which is going to be our Prussian blue. It's a little bit on the green side, a little bit darker value than anything we've used so far, and as you can tell, it'll bring those trees in front of that far shoreline. And number 4 on our blue list, we have phthalo blue, which is going to be the darkest of our colors. and it's going to be the closest tree. Still not right on the edge of where we're going to go with the complete value. The phthalo blue is a richer blue, doesn't take a lot of it's a strong pigment, and so we're going to use it for this foreground tree. And you'll see as we progress, it's going to really make that tree look like it's the closest. Now, recalling our tip I just gave you, because this tree line is closer, we need to make this reflection darker, so we're going to borrow some of that tree color of the foreground tree to add the dark, deep value of the reflection from these trees that are kind of mid-level back. And then finally we get to our last blue, which is cerulean blue, another strong pigment. A little dose of this goes a long ways, but we're going to reserve this for this snow that's kind of in the mid-level and also in the foreground. And I'm going to use this because it's a more of a vivid color, and as we get closer into the foreground, our colors are going to be deeper in value and they're going to be more vivid. So this is going to give us and present us a snow drifts that are to the mid-level and to the foreground. Some of these cerulean mixtures will also make a great color for our snow-laden cabin roof. As we're wrapping up this piece, and before I introduce our last color of the day, if you're not a subscriber, please consider being part of the channel by hitting that subscribe button. And as always, click that notification bell so you'll know when the next part of this video and other videos are released. And if you'd like to leave a comment, I always respond to those as well. Finally, we come to the last color we're going to use for this rough end or the block end of this scene. The piece de resistance is burnt sienna. And why is this so important for our scene? Well, because it's a white, blue Christmas. That orangish colors and the glow of the cabin are going to really be complementary to the overall scene. So we're using a bit of that burnt sienna to go ahead and block in the front of this cabin. Later on, we'll apply those bright highlights and those Christmas lights to the cabin, and it's really going to distinguish this as being a blue Christmas. Well, that's about a wrap on this first initial look into this blue Christmas. Not much to look at the moment, but we've got the foundation laid for our first layer of painting, which we'll build on with the upcoming layers, including the details, and when we're really going to make this scene pop. Hope you've enjoyed this look into the first look. I hope to see you next time. Until then, happy painting.